And welcome into the Friday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership where the buzz is always about great service. It is Friday. We have made it to the end of the week. Joe Rexrode, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing great. Decided to try to stay out of the elements today, so we'll see how it goes.
We will see how that goes. Ian Safar, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. Excited for another fun weekend. Wrapping up fall break here, but doing great. Thanks.
We got a lot to get into on the program today. Tennessee with a game against Arkansas at Neyland Stadium, which I believe is our only home game of the month. We'll get into that a little bit later in the show. Of course, the Titans taking on the Raiders in Las Vegas, trying to do the unthinkable, Joe, and that is going for 2 wins in a row. I know, it's crazy. We'll get into that coming up here in just a few minutes as well. But we begin with the Nashville Predators last night. They opened their season, and they do something that took them a long time to do last year, and that's get a win. They won the hockey game last night, and Barry Trotz was walking down the tunnel after the game was over. He looked at the media, Joe, and he said, well, that happened a little quicker than it did last year, didn't it? And yes, it did. Preds get the win. It was not perfect last night, but they win 2-1 against the Columbus Blue Jackets. UC Saros with 37 saves in net. He looked very good last night. And the Predators, to their credit, I think were significantly outplayed in the first 2 periods. And then they significantly outplayed Columbus in the third period, and they skate away with the 2-1 win. Goals from Michael Bunting and Ryan O'Reilly, and the Predators get it done. So, Joe, I mean, look, it's one game of 82, so we're not going to make too big of a deal out of the season opening win against the Columbus Blue Jackets. However, they went 0-5 last year. They went 5-10 the year before. They've struggled out of the gate under Andrew Burnett. We'll see if they can keep it up here. But nice at least to get some sort of positive feeling in that room after there was basically none of that last year.
I was hoping you were going to say Trot said, suck it, losers, and then just walked down. That would have been a way better story. But this is no small thing. It's just to have a positive start, just to have a chance to not have a hole immediately, have to dig out of, and I think Saros playing well is a big deal. Again, even in his best years, he's had slow starts. I mean, is he done anything drastically different to try to get himself ramped up? There's an interesting thought, but I mean, it's a big deal to me to get a win. You got that Ryan O'Reilly goal was absolute filth on the power play. Brady Martin plays, so that was interesting. Definitely want to hear your thoughts on him. But I mean, all in all, this is a pretty sorely needed, first development for the Preds.
Yep, and they get a result. And again, there was some stretches probably later into the first period and halfway through the second period where they didn't look very good, and it wasn't going well for them out there. But to their credit, they kept it out of their own net and were able to come through with a big play in the third. And then, like I said, the third period, I thought they looked pretty good. So that was a good development for them. Brady Martin did play last night. He made his NHL debut and was on the top line with Ryan O'Reilly and Philip Forsberg. And I thought he looked fine for most of the game. I think, Andrew Burnett described it after the game this way, and I think it's right. The speed when you're going from exhibition hockey to the first game of the regular season, I think Andrew Burnett said if he had to quantify it, it's probably like 20% the speed and the pace picks up. And he said you could tell the eyes were wide open a little bit for Brady Martin when he was seeing that for the first time. And by the way, it's all right, kid, you're 18, you're playing with Forsberg and O'Reilly, and the best line that Columbus has, which is featuring Monahan and Kirill Marchenko, you're going to be matched up against them the whole night. So have fun with that. So, he didn't do anything spectacular. There were some times through the game where that line got hemmed in a little bit and gave up some chances. So it wasn't perfect, but for an 18-year-old making his NHL debut on a top line against the top line of the other team, I thought he held his own fine. So I'm interested to see how they handle him moving forward here. My expectation, Joe, is still unless he shows something, miraculous as an 18-year-old, he's probably going to get a few games up here and then go back down and spend the rest of the year in junior. That's my expectation. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. It's also, I guess as things develop, you look at the overall lineup and it's like, I mean, obviously Evangelista is going to take a spot.
Yeah.
Right. So, but, I guess I'm still trying to keep an open mind on, I mean, what if, even if it's, it's nothing special, but it's like you're solid there with him. Is there any real consideration given? I mean, obviously, there's benefits to going down and kind of going through the process, but I don't know. I just wonder if this forward group still, like, he could still be more of a plus, than other iterations of the lineup over time, and if that's even something that like Barry Trotz would consider.
It's a good question. Maybe, and I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility. The one thing I'll say, and this is not a surprise, he's 18 years old and he's going to get there at some point. But, he was talking about it last night. He was like, these guys are unbelievably strong. They're way stronger than me, and I need to get in the gym. And you could tell it a few times last night. Like, he just got totally knocked off the puck a couple of times last night. And again, he's 18. Like, I remember Philip Forsberg when he was 18, and you breathed on him the wrong way, and he got knocked off the puck. And then all of a sudden, 2 years later, he came back, and it was like, wow, he looks like an ox out there on the ice. It's unbelievable. So I think there's some of that you have to consider, but I'm not going to totally discount the possibility. Like, the thing that stands out to me, Joe, about Brady Martin not only making the team, but starting on the top line is not, I don't think they're just throwing him on the top line for the sake of throwing him on the top line. Like, he clearly showed enough in camp where they trust him in those situations. And I think offensively may not even be what I'm talking about. Like, I think they think that he thinks the game well and is reliable out there and can play with Forsberg and O'Reilly. Not every young guy can play with Forsberg and O'Reilly. So, like, I think that's a big part of it to keep in mind as they move forward here too. But I'm really interested to see how they handle him because, like you said, I mean, they've got not just Evangelista that's going to come back, but Matthew Wood is going to come back, and he had a really good camp. And there's some roster spots that they're going to have to figure out. Eventually, Nick Hague's coming back, and I know that's on defense, but just roster spots that they're going to have to figure out as they move forward here. So we'll see what happens on that front. But you get the win. I did think they did a semi-decent job defensively of keeping some of the shots to the perimeter. Like, I never felt like UC Saros was just totally under siege last night, even though they ended up with 38 shots on goal. But good sign. Saros looks good. You get the win at home, and now you've got the Utah Mammoth coming in on Saturday. But, Joe, like, if you could get through the first 10, 12 games here and you're like 500 or better, like, that's again, it's one game, but that would be a heck of a start for this team that has a lot of negativity from last year and zero expectations that they're trying to battle through.
Yeah. Or what about better? What if you start on a run and you actually, build up some, give yourself, I don't know, it's not really cushion in an 82-game season, but it's just a head start. I mean, it's kind of one of those, you've said it before talking out there. It's kind of like, you could see where with all the stuff that happened last year, all the talk, and still some of these guys who are still really, really good hockey players. And even, even if some of them are older, like, there's still talent here. You could see how it could be different because it is a completely 180 psychologically and outside expectations and all that stuff. So, so that'd be good. That'd be a nice change for Nashville too. I mean, my gosh, the Preds and the Titans they're on 1-game winning streaks. Amazing.
A lot of winning going on this week around here. A lot of winning. That's what, as we expected. That's all that matters around here. One texter says, after 2 periods, I thought they were fortunate to be tied, but the third period was encouraging. They seemed to out-scrap and outwork Columbus at that time. I mean, they had Forsberg was talking about, it felt like they had the puck the last 10 minutes of the game. Like, they were good in the third period. And look, regardless of, the continuity of the team and how many guys are coming back from last year and all those things, Like the early part of the season, nobody in the league is going to be playing crisp hockey. Like the first month of the NHL season is largely like a slop fest out there, and it's basically about like who survives it the best. So, I mean, last night from that standpoint, the Predators power play had stretches where it looked awful, and then it came in clutch in the third period, and O'Reilly scores the goal. Like it's a big play right there. So while you're building your game, can you do things to win? That's what it comes down to, right? Like last year, they didn't win, and they were trying to build their game, and then they panicked, and then they just never found it, right? Like they just absolutely never found it. While you're building this up with your young guys, and your young guys are having their ups and their downs, like can your veterans come in and be a stabilizing force where you're collecting points while you're building your team game? That's the name of the game early in the year.
Yeah, it's like the first month of offensive line playing the NFL or something.
Yeah.
Caleb says, I'm heading to the Atlanta airport. I don't understand why this team has no expectations. Last year, we had all the expectations. LOL, we still have those players. They just need to produce. Well, yeah, Caleb, but did you watch them play last year? The reason there's no expectations is because of how bad they were last year. It's very simple.
Right. I mean, and the no expectations are, I'm sure internally the expectations are different than they are externally, but like, I still don't know that I found a person around the league that has picked them to make the playoffs. So it's a very different situation. But hey, Joe, you can't go 82-0 without going 1-0. And they're taking that first step last night.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. I'd have to address this real quick. Texas says, you see Jackson Dart now beating the world champs on prime time. Admit it, Joe. Am I a Jackson Dart hater that I forgot? Am I a hater of Jackson Dart somewhere?
I don't think you were overly excited about him in the draft, but I don't think many people were.
Here's what I'll admit. Did you watch Cam Scattaboo?
Yeah.
I hope you did, because he destroyed the Eagles. And actually, by the way, Herb Street even said, he's like, everybody's going to make this about Jackson Dart, but the biggest culture change guy is Scattaboo. Just saying.
Now we're talking.
Dart looks good, though. And by the way, Dart would be, finally, if he actually is good, I mean, we need to all calm down. I mean, he's doing some good things. But if he is, then the Tennessee offense has a quarterback in the NFL that can say, see, you can play in the NFL and play in this offense.
That is true. The Titans taking on the Raiders this weekend. Can they do the unthinkable and win back-to-back real-life National Football League games? We're going to get into that coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. The Tennessee Titans going for 2 wins in a row, Joe. And, man, has it been a long time since they've done that. But you look at the opponent this weekend, and you look at the rest of the Titans schedule, and you think, well, if there's a week where you really wanted to follow a win and see if you could get 2 in a row, this might be the one. Going on the road to take on a Raiders team that, man, just looks awful so far to begin this year. And they got Brock Bowers dealing with an injury, who's by far their best offensive player. And they've got quarterback throwing interceptions all the time, an offensive line that's not played well. It's not going well for Pete Carroll and the Raiders in year one of that new regime there. So, Joe, if you're the Titans, we know it at this point. There's no need to go back and rehash the Arizona game, but you got a game handed to you last week in the NFL. You get off the mat, you win a game, and now can you go look for 2 in a row? So, Joe, how do you feel about a match that I'm sure the rest of the league is just stoked about, the Titans and the Raiders coming up this weekend?
Yeah, like what's the announcing crew for this one? I'm sure that's out there at this point, but I'm sure it's close to. Do we get Brady?
Will not be Mark Sanchez.
Well, yeah, that is
Can't confirm.
That's a fair point there. Yes, I would think not, and no Brady, right? Yeah,
I don't think so.
I guess no Brady. Yeah.
Could be in the booth though.
Yeah. He's trying to make sure his Raiders. Boy, it's kind of tough too. I mean, everybody's ripping Belichick for well deserved for just an absolute bleep show. But I got to say, the Tom Brady winning touch isn't exactly working out here. I'm surprised. I mean,
we got Kenny Albert this week.
Ooh, I love Kenny Albert.
Fox, yeah, Kenny Albert and Jonathan Vilma.
What did poor Kenny do to deserve this?
Wow.
The Titans and the Raiders.
Right? Yeah, Kenny's pretty good. I thought that this would be a decent team, not a great, but like an 8-9, 9-8 kind of team. Figured Carroll would come in and have some. I mean, Carroll, everywhere he's gone since USC, he has won. I mean, I guess it's only 2 places.
That's true.
Excuse me.
Long time at both places, but yeah.
Long time both places. Very good coach. I mean, he's a great coach. I'll take away that one play that every once in a while I still get angry about because it's so bad. But not much going on there. It's actually amazing to think that they went and thumped the Patriots on the road in the opener. Like, if those teams played now, I think it'd probably be a very different outcome. But Bowers, and I haven't seen what his availability, but Bowers is huge for them, right? And so obviously the designations will come out today, but I'm not sure like what his deal would be for Sunday. But if you take him out, especially, I mean, because I think that the Titans are still very vulnerable against really good tight ends. But take him out of the mix, it seems like that's just a security blanket that the absence is really tough on Geno.
Well, for sure. And Bowers hasn't practiced yet this week. It's not sounding great that he's going to be able to play. But like you said, the designations come out today, and we'll see exactly what that looks like. And then I guess if he can't go, it's like, hey, Ashton Genty and Jacoby Myers going to be getting the football a lot out there for the Raiders. So we'll see what that looks like. The Raiders, they won their first game against Vrabel and the Patriots. And it's like, okay, look at Pete Carroll coming in there and getting stuff done immediately. And they've just looked horrific since then, like just awful since then. And like I said, if you're the Titans, this is a game where you need to go out there and play well. Like this is not a game, Joe, where you need to be looking in, late in the second quarter, early in the third quarter, and the Titans just aren't getting anything done out there. Like that would be a very disappointing process for the Titans if that's the way it plays out here. I mean, like it or not, like the schedule, not all created equal in the NFL. And there's some weeks on your schedule, especially when you're a team like the Titans, that you're just going to have some problems, right? Like when you're walking into Denver, you probably know the offense isn't going to get a whole lot done on the road in Denver for your quarterback's first NFL game. This is a situation where, as long as you don't let Max Crosby totally overtake the game, like you should be able to do some things offensively. We're going to get into that a little bit later on the Cam Ward front too. But like this is a game the Titans, I'm not saying they should win because I don't know if there's a game in the NFL the Titans should win. But this is a game where the fourth quarter needs to roll around, and the Titans absolutely need to have a chance to win in the fourth quarter. That I will say.
Yeah, and I think pretty simple, but it's just like there's a game wrecker on the other side, and so you can't let him wreck the game. But he could, but that's like you keep him contained. Max Crosby, of course, is who I'm talking about, and you do whatever you need to do to help, to double, to chip, to scheme things away, to run at him, to go away from him, whatever it is, and don't let him. I mean, it's too obvious almost, but like to me, that's if that happens, then the Titans could be not in position to win in the fourth quarter if they let him wreck the game. But take care of that, and obviously it's going to be very interesting to see J.C. Latham this week and how he looks, and can he play the whole game? Is he good? Is he past this stuff, or is it just going to be, well, they gave it another week, but they should have given it another month, and even if they did that, it wouldn't matter because this stuff is just never going to go away this year. I mean, that's like him being able to finish the game beyond like the win or loss is a big deal Sunday.
Well, and I'll be honest with you on that. Like he has practiced this week, but it's been limited both days, and I'm sure that's by design, Joe. And
Yeah.
Kuharski said multiple times that he feels good about J.C. Latham being able to play this week, which I'm happy about. I want to see it, but the last thing I want to see, Joe, is him get out there in the game, and then by the time the third quarter rolls around, he can't play anymore because the hips re-aggravate him again. Like I hope he's past it. When I've seen the limited designation, what I was hoping was last week, Joe, that he probably could have gone, and then they just said, "Hey, let's give it another week and make sure this thing is past you."
That's
I
kind of how
hope,
they've said it.
yeah, exactly. Like the fact that he's been limited both days, again, I'm sure is by design. But I'd feel a whole lot better if he was just a full participant both days, and it felt pretty good that this thing was behind him.
Yeah, I hear you. It's certainly just I think it is intentional, but it's also like if you're not able to just say, okay, you're good, go, then what does that mean? How vulnerable is he to it coming back? But also at the same time, and at some point you got to try, right? I mean, you have to try. So yeah, I think that's a big deal to see if they can get him back to where he's playing every week. It's just, and I don't know, hip stuff. I mean, obviously, when you get older, hip stuff, it's like at some point, it's like, well, you're just going to need a new one. I think we're quite there with the young professional athlete, but it is one of those things that, I mean, think playing that position, the things you have to do with that position at that size, you can see how it would easily be potentially be a recurring thing.
So we'll take your thoughts on the Titans. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. On the road in Vegas this weekend, can they win multiple games in a row? What do you make of the matchup? We'll get into what this all means for Cam Ward heading into this weekend, coming up as well. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
another trip out west, another road game we got to go play, our third one in a row here. Excited about the challenge. You know, they're a team that while record-wise doesn't look great, you can see exactly why they're in the spot they're in. They've had a tremendous amount of back-breaking turnovers that have put their defense in really tough spots. Teams have capitalized on that, but when you watch just the tape alone and you look at the scheme and the players, there's a lot of good things happening there. They look like a Pete Carroll team on defense. All those traits are starting to show up. Offensively, we know Gino's a proven quarterback in this league, and when he gets hot, he's tough to deal with. They got some young players that are pretty talented, and I think it's going to be a hell of a road test for us.
As Brian Callahan, Titans are road warriors, baby. Third road game in a row. They're heading out to Vegas at the Giant Roomba. Kuharski's excited to see the stadium for the first time, Joe. So looking forward to that. And we'll see if the Titans can do it, can pull off a couple wins in a row. Let's head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and welcome in Dylan to the program. Dylan, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have to say I like waking up to you guys and getting the information on the street. Just wanted to stop in and make a couple statements on the upcoming game this weekend.
Thank you. What's going on?
Yeah, as a Miami native working here in mid-state Tennessee, I want to sprinkle a little good luck on the boy Cam. Capitalize on last week's performance, being as lucky as they were in the fourth quarter, and making a good opportunity in the second win that's going to come this weekend against Mr. Crosby. Would be a perfect opportunity to open the door for Cam to start running out of the pocket a little more.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Dylan. Appreciate it. Like Ward, one thing we talked about with Kuharski earlier this week, getting him on the move more, right? I think they did that in the last game. Is that going to be something you do by design every week? And how beneficial is that when it comes to the pros and cons of, like, when you get him on the move, Joe, he's shown he can make some pretty good plays on the move. Now, most of that has come from just naturally scrambling. But you also, when you're trying to move him, most of the time you're taking away half of the field and going through half-field reads out there. So how do you balance the pro of getting him on the move and having him throw on the run, which he's proven to be pretty good at this point in his career, versus, having your playbook where you just naturally – I mean, look, most big plays, most quarterbacks in this league make their living off throwing from the pocket and having the whole field available to them. So that part of it's going to be interesting to see how the Titans handle that the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think he does throw well on the move. So now some of that, is his own improvisation. But I think especially in a game like this, when you're actually facing one of those top guys off the edge, it makes sense to try to do some different things like that. It's big for him just in general to build off that fourth quarter. Excuse me. I mean, the first three quarters were, I thought, some of his worst of the season.
Yeah. And
then the fourth was easily his best of the season. So obviously it's a crazy comeback. It's a little bit, you're in a hurry up. You're playing from behind. The other team is defending you because they have a big lead, all that stuff. A little different than, starting out a football game, but still, how much confidence do you gain from that? Just from making some of those throws and having a win at the end of it. How much does that help an individual's confidence? And Robby, to invoke again last night's game, I mean, look, not that this should be any concern for Cam, but now you have, another rookie quarterback who's starting to become one of the stories of the league. I mean, I saw Stilly had to put out his little poll last night. Who's better, Cam Ward or Jackson Dart? And I have no idea how the little poll is going. But I'm just saying, yes. But I'm just saying, this it's at least on the discussion around him. This is now another thing where it's like, oh, and meanwhile, he wasn't even the best quarterback in this draft. People overreacting left and right, even just to Jackson Dart in general. But I'm just saying, it's another kind of interesting thing that's going on. I mean, Charles brought it up to us, the first day Jackson Dart played, like, this isn't good, for him or for them, I guess, to have like another rookie QB coming in, that went lower, and they could have made the trade of the team, et cetera, et cetera. But it's just an interesting side story to it.
So back to our phone line. Welcome in Jared in Spring Hill to the program. Jared, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Man, Joe, what a perfect segue, because let me get to this weekend's game, because if this was a Cold Stone Creamery, I don't know if you're familiar with that fine establishment, but I would characterize this game as a gotta have it type of game. Just need to see a lot from Cam Ward going into this, but also too, watching that game last night. Like, what is the defense for Cam Ward up to this point, who has more outings than Jackson Dart has had? So for all the Cam Ward defenders out there, like, what is the defense? If you want me to get excited, show me something what Jackson Dart showed last night. And so show me that. Also, too, everybody's talking about him getting out of the pocket. I'm perfectly okay with that, and we've seen times in which that's happened. But also, too, Cam Ward's not really the fastest guy. So those defensive ends and outside linebackers are crashing so much faster than he has the speed to be able to capitalize on it versus the college game. So I'm interested to see how they're going to counter these. But, again, what's the defense of Cam Ward after we've seen what Jackson Dart does in such a little time? I'll hang up, listen. Low T, tighten up, baby.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. So that kind of leads into this question, Joe. They're taking on the Raiders. And look, the Raiders' record is poor. You heard Callahan going through. I mean, they have had a lot of turnovers. There's no doubt about it. So when you're turning the football over as much as the Raiders have to this point, it's going to end up having a negative effect on your defense. So maybe their defense is better than the numbers would suggest to this point. However, I mean, looking at, the stat that we always come back to, Joe, what do we always talk about when we're talking about defense in this league? It's about the most important stat is how many points per game are you giving up? And, they just had 40 hung on them by the Colts, which apparently that's just what the Colts do now, right? Like the Colts are just some absolute juggernaut out there, and you can't stop the Indianapolis Colts. But it's not gone well for the Raiders so far this year. It's not gone well for the Titans so far this year, and that's why their records are where they are. So the question is, if you're Cam Ward, I would say other than a couple of plays here and there, and then the fourth quarter really as a whole against Arizona, it's not been overly impressive to this point. So will this be Cam Ward's best game? And if it's not Cam Ward's best game on Sunday, Joe, that we've seen to this point, how concerning would that be to you?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, this would be a good opportunity for that. And again, it's like also just building off the end of the last game. So if it goes, if it's a bad game, if it's a game that looks more like the first three quarters against the Cardinals, then it's like the whole thing just looks more like an aberration, right? Yeah. As opposed to part of a process of building and growing. I mean, again, you hope part of that better game is that Ridley now has been activated, and part of that best game would be that Latham's out there, and now they're even that much better running the ball and protecting. So yeah, I think it would be very disappointing if it's not. To Jared's question there, what's the defense? I mean, this is where, again, we got to remember that like everybody's not playing with the same conditions. As bad as the Giants have been, the Giants do have pretty good offensive line. I mean, look, we joke, but Scadaboo's freaking good. Yeah. Like Abel's like, how did he fall so far in the draft? Well, because people are stupid. Because people care more about their stupid stopwatches than watching someone play freaking football. If you watch the guy play freaking football, you knew he'd be a beast in the NFL. That's exactly what he is.
You're going to get the Restrepo crew involved now by doing that. It's what you're going to do.
But look, yes, and that's fine. But I mean, like, there are still some benchmarks you got to hit. Again, like I think I made the comparison to Jerome Bettis with him, right? I mean, Jerome Bettis wouldn't beat an 8-year-old in a 40. It doesn't matter. He destroyed people. I mean, so they have him. They have pretty good receivers, and they have one of the best pass rushes in the league. Like, the Giants actually shouldn't stink. So, I mean, we want to try to compare player to player. You got to be real careful with that and look at the difference. Like, what if Cam Ward had a defense that had that kind of a pass rush? Or again, that kind of the run game. And, last night Jalen Carter's out too, by the way. Yep. So all of a sudden, boy, are you really bullying those guys when he's not in the middle of that defense. You got to be careful with the player for player thing. and not look at the overall situations, even though I understand in general people still think of the Giants as a stinky team.
By the way, I brought up points per game that the defense is allowing. The Titans are 26th in the NFL right now, allowing 28.2 points per game. Just above them, at 25th, the Raiders, 27.8 points per game. Could be a high-scoring affair out there, Joe, which would be a welcome change of pace.
I mean, can you imagine if at least win or lose, the Titans are just in or at least in like games in which points are scored. It's almost too much for my brain to process this early in the morning. Another thing, I have a question too, Robby, about just for fans, and I think Matthew Van Jolton hits this, and I've been curious about this. He says the Titan season's down the toilet anyway. Need to keep anyone that's injured out, let them fully heal. Like, if I feel like feels like a normal game week because they won one game, and it's like, hey, can they win another? They'd be 2-4. There's at least something going on there. But also if this happens for people, people who wanted Callahan out, well, now he's everything's steadied there, stabilized. He's in place. The number 1 draft pick becomes less of a sure thing and things like that. I mean, I think it's too early for fans to be like, no, please lose, but I still feel like some probably are.
Look, let's not make any mistake about it. The Titans really aren't going to need a whole lot of help losing most of the rest of the year. Like, it is what it is. So, like, I would say probably root for your team to win. They're going to run into some losses along the way. I promise you, by the time the season ends, you're not going to be overly dissatisfied with the Titans pick. They're going to be picking pretty high. So I wouldn't worry that too much about it. Like, go out there and see if you can beat the Raiders. Like, I understand you want as good of a pick as possible, and I do too. But, like, I also don't want to watch totally inept loser football for the next 3 months. So if they want to go out there and win this weekend, yeah, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah. Different things. Yeah, winning is not bad. And
they're going to lose enough, I promise.
They're going to lose enough. But having wins, having your young quarterback experience wins, winning in different ways, things like that, it's a good thing. It's a good thing to have. I mean, there are rookie quarterbacks who have had the terrible everything rookie season, including wins and losses, but at least a few. Not a bad thing. Jared responds here. So you're saying the Titans are idiots and should have done what the Giants did, taking a defensive end first and a QB later to build a more complete team. Love it. Well, I mean, I guess you could take it that way.
I mean, I think you and I both said we would have taken the picks that the Giants offered, did we not?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
I think that would have been our strategy at the time. But
or Scatterboo number 1 overall. I also said that.
You did say that. You did say that. 615-737-1025, our phone number. More of your thoughts on the Titans and the Raiders coming up this weekend. We'll get into Tennessee's game against Arkansas in the 7 o'clock hour. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 the game. If you're looking for a good spot to watch the NFL games on Sunday, come on out to Twin Peaks in Cool Springs, home of the 29-degree beer, and join 102.5 The Game for the pregame show before the Titans take on the Raiders. Pregame show brought to you by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Tennessee Brew Works. We are taking your thoughts on the Titans at 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. A lot of people weighing in on the Jackson Dart Cam Ward comparison. We'll see as more time goes on what that looks like around here. Again, going back to the Ward part of this, like if we walk away from the game Sunday and it's not Cam Ward's best game, considering what they did in the fourth quarter last week against Arizona, the opponent that they're playing this week, which is a not very good Raiders team, I'll be very disappointed. I will be very disappointed if we don't walk away discussing Cam Ward's best performance to this point as a Tennessee Titan. Because frankly, the other part of this, Joe, is there hadn't been a whole lot of good performances. So, like, it's not a very high bar that I'm asking him to clear on Sunday against the Raiders. He played one really good quarter against Arizona, and I'm not expecting every quarter to be like that. Like, he's not throwing for 190 yards in every quarter, so I understand that. But, like, can from the jump in the game, can the offense move the ball, generate some points? Can he score some touchdowns early in the game? My God, like that'd be a welcome change of pace for the Tennessee Titans. And, are we looking at a completion percentage at halftime, Joe, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 62%? Like, can we get there? That's probably the main thing that I'm looking for on Sunday.
Yeah, sustained drives. Yeah, the whole, take the short stuff, pick and choose the shots. But also there's taking the short stuff, and then there's actually hitting the short stuff, which I think sometimes, people say like he's not taking that up, but I think sometimes he's tried and he's just missed some of those throws. So, I mean, that's definitely a part of it too. So no, I'm with you. It's like it's at some point you need clear progress. It's not linear. It's never linear, and it's not going to be. And by the way, like Joey from Bellevue, other people, like you said, they're talking about Jackson already looks better and all that stuff. First of all, they lost to the Saints last week. Let's remember that. Game 2 for Jackson Dart, and I think he turned it over a couple times too. So let's, keep that in mind. But like they're all going to have ups and downs. But you should have, like, there are times when it's like this should be an up. This is an opportunity for an up, and it certainly is. So you want to see, every few weeks be able to look back and say, okay, from a month ago to now, he's definitely better. You can see it. Some of it is a supporting cast. So Latham, Ridley, those are two guys. Like, are those guys going to, is Ridley going to be that guy that he was last week? And does Latham make that much of a difference? Does the offensive line get better? I mean, I feel like it's moving in the right direction for sure. Now getting him back should be a huge opportunity for Cam Ward if he actually has some clean pockets and we don't have to talk about all the moving things around this or that. He can just stand in there and deliver darts.
Nice darts. A lot of dart talk on the program here today.
Well, they must just be on my brain.
They're really good stuff. Really good stuff. So I want to get your thoughts on this stat that Kuharski threw out there yesterday. And I'm interested to see if this changes now that Spears is working his way back in the lineup. It says the Titans have thrown to running backs 9% of the time, which is the lowest amount in the league. They've thrown to wide receivers 66%. That is sixth best in the league. Tight ends 25%, which is seventh best in the league. They're not throwing the ball basically at all to the running back position. How much will that change? How much should that change with Spears working his way back in?
It definitely should, quite a bit. And I think it will. Yeah. I mean, I do. I think that and I thought he looked like you saw a little bit of explosiveness last week. Not a lot. I think that it's always that with him. It's like, man, it's like one step away, one broken tackle away or one move away from really making a big play there. But he will catch the ball in the backfield. And I think as an outlet and just as here and there, I mean, look, their screen game has been just bad, you know, but I think you got to try different things. And I think certainly just as an outlet, and I think you're going to see that, but Cam also has to go to the outlet, has to get to the outlet. like you said this week, like you don't want, there's the extreme of, oh, you're taking too many shots, and then there's like captain check down. You don't want that. I don't think Cam Ward's ever going to be that guy.
I don't either.
Mr. Checking down like crazy. But here and there, it's not a bad idea, and if you time some of those right, and you can get 8 yards. Snap your finger and you get 8 yards. It's a kind of extension of the run game. I agree with what Kaharski said, which is it is amazing to look around the league at times at how some of those plays get schemed up. Obviously it depends on what coverage you're seeing and all that stuff, where you get space, and you can get some of these guys, with some momentum, some speed built up, and really get some decent little chunks of yardage. And the Titans, it's like you just never see them have that kind of free access on a play like that.
I mean, they almost had one last week, baby. Almost had Julius Chestnut streaking down the field wide open, and then
little wheel on that one, yeah.
And then they could not connect. They could not connect on that one. Maybe throw that one to somebody other than Julius Chestnut. That'd be good. Tajay, this is you, baby. Go catch the ball. That would be
a good play for him. Now I will say Julius Chestnut has one of their most explosive plays on offense this year. So
I know.
Just throwing that out there, which is probably a comment more on them than him, but
probably a big reason why they're 1-4. Yeah, 1-4 out there. Good stuff. Trevor saying, did you guys see Nick Suss's stat he came up with that the Callahan family is 5-15 against Pete Carroll in the NFL and in college? I did not see that. But it does not surprise me. Like, first of all, if you're talking about Pete Carroll in college, a lot of people lost to Pete Carroll in college. And Seattle, quite a run where they were very good. So I don't know that I'm overly surprised by that.
So just off the top of my head, I have not seen the story, but I assume he's counting like Brian as the UCLA backup quarterback against USC. Because I don't know if Bill at Nebraska ever played Pete Carroll. I guess it's possible on a ball game. I don't know. It doesn't. I shouldn't pretend to lean on my memory from 20 plus years ago, but probably more of that. And then that is very interesting. 5-15. So, hey, you can be 6-15 against Pete Carroll this week. Get excited, Callahan family.
Get excited. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Tennessee out for some revenge this weekend against Arkansas. But a new wrinkle thrown in, Bobby Petrino leading the Hogs into Neyland Stadium. What's that going to look like? We'll get into all that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up later this hour at 7:45. Turron Davenport at 8 o'clock. We'll get into the Titans and the Raiders with him. We will get back into the Preds later this hour as well, and their win last night in their season opener. All that coming up here on the program. Joe Rexrode, the Vols back in action tomorrow, coming off the bye week, and they are taking on a team that got a win against them last year. An ugly game for Tennessee a year ago when they went to Arkansas and took on the Hogs. Arkansas also coming off a bye. They changed their coaches. Sam Pittman gets fired. Bobby Petrino rolling into Neyland Stadium tomorrow as the interim head coach for the Razorbacks. Joe, the last time we saw Arkansas, they got beat 56-13 by Notre Dame. Now, I will say this. They've lost 3 games in a row, Ole Miss, Memphis, Notre Dame. Their offense, with the exception of the Notre Dame game, has looked pretty good throughout the year, right? Like Taylon Green threw for 305 yards against Ole Miss. They put up 35 points in that game. He threw for 325 against Memphis. They put up 31 in that game. Like they got a dangerous offense and a quarterback that's a dual threat that's playing pretty well for the most part. So that's the one thing. And the other part of this that I think a lot of people are wondering about heading into this game. Look, Bobby Petrino, we know about his past, and he's a strange dude. But I think a lot of people feel pretty confident that he's going to have some wrinkles tomorrow to throw in there against Tennessee. And he's had the bye week to kind of work on all that as well. So it's a very fascinating game from the Arkansas standpoint tomorrow, Joe, because at least on offense, I'm not sure if Tennessee knows exactly what they're walking into on that one.
No, they're going to be challenged. Taylon Green's really good, and Bobby Petrino's good. Bobby Petrino's a good offensive coach, a good offensive coordinator, play caller. I think he's helped them. It's like as soon when they hired him back, first of all, it was like, are you serious? But also it was like, oh, so now Sam Pittman has Petrino helping him, but also kind of hovering over him as the potential guy who takes over. David from Arkansas, and anybody else who listens who's an Arkansas fan, I assume that you want no part of Petrino. I did a little message board thing. Looked like it's, most of the fan base lives in reality and lives in 2025 and doesn't think it would be a good idea at all. But
it's because they all want Gruden.
Well, there's a healthy Gruden faction. There's a healthy Hugh Freeze is underappreciated at Auburn. Bring him here faction, and some other names too. But Petrino I fully expect Arkansas will have some nice wrinkles Saturday. Taylon Green is very talented. They have some skill, and they're going to score some points. Sam Pittman would still have his job if they didn't have 2 ridiculous late fumbles against Ole Miss and Memphis. I mean, I guess the Ole Miss, you have to go win the game, but that robbed them of a chance to win that game, and then they totally blew the Memphis game with those fumbles. You'd be looking at a different situation. Granted, the Notre Dame game was so ugly, but also when a team loses heartbreakers like that back to back, sometimes that can happen too, right?
Yeah.
And then you come up with a performance like you did against Notre Dame, but they're still a pretty potent team offensively. I mean, defensively, I think Tennessee is going to be able to go right up and down the field. But I do feel like you got to make sure you score touchdowns and keep some separation, because I do think that the Arkansas offense is going to come up with some plays and some points.
That's a big game for Tennessee's offense because, number one, you're at home. Hey, look, they have played really well at home under Josh Heupel, and they have not had very many home stinkers under Josh Heupel. I mean, they haven't had very many losses in general at home under Josh Heupel. So a game for Tennessee's offense tomorrow where I think Arkansas's defense is vulnerable. It's a team that basically shut you down last year. So guys who were on the team at Tennessee remember that and are going to want to change that. And look, Tennessee's offense is different basically in every facet from what they did a year ago. Like last year, they couldn't throw the ball that well. This year, they throw it well. Last year, they ran the ball extremely well. This year, they're kind of struggling to run at the moment. So I'm interested to see if that changes tomorrow against Arkansas. But like Brazel, Matthews, Staley, they ought to cook in this game. So we'll see what happens on that front. I am, we're going to get into a big picture SEC conversation here in just a second, and exactly where Tennessee fits into that. But like, if you're Tennessee, if you're Texas A&M, I mean, if you're Alabama, like, I don't know that there's like some elite team in the SEC, right? Like everybody thought it was going to be Texas heading into the year, and if it wasn't going to be Texas, well, it was probably going to be Georgia, and if it wasn't going to be Georgia, it was probably going to be Alabama. And Alabama's playing really well right now. They got a big test this weekend too, coming up on the road at Missouri. So we'll see how all that goes. But like if you're Tennessee, I think you're looking at things right now, Joe, and you're like, well, you lost a heartbreaker to Georgia. You feel like you should have won that game. You kind of screwed around a little bit in Mississippi State, and you were fortunate to stay alive, come back, win that game. You had some calls go against you. You had some dumb plays early in the game that probably made that game a little bit closer than it should have been. But I still think if you're the Vols, you're looking around the rest of the landscape of the SEC right now, and you're thinking, man, we got a shot here. Like, we got a shot to really stick in this thing and make a run to Atlanta. Like, that should be what your mindset is right now if you're Tennessee, and you can't afford an absolute screw-up against Arkansas like you had a year ago. Like, this to me is, in some ways, Joe, it's not the same because of how extreme the 2022 South Carolina game was. But I remember thinking in 2023, when they played South Carolina at home that next year, I was like, they're about to go out there and kick their butt. And I kind of feel the same way about this. Like, everybody's talking about Petrino this week and how the wrinkles and what the offense is going to look like. And I have not been able to shake the feeling all week that Tennessee is going to absolutely destroy Arkansas, which makes me nervous as all get out heading into this game tomorrow, that I feel that way.
Yeah, well, I think it's way more likely that this is a complete laugh of a blowout than it is a game that's like down to the wire. It's hard for me to, because like you said, the Josh Heupel road stuff, it's fair. There've been too many bad performances. They're pretty good at home, and especially, I mean, basically, unless they played Georgia, right?
Yeah,
I mean, they've had pretty overwhelming success, and when they play a lesser team in Arkansas, certainly a lesser team, usually they handle that pretty well, and they have the stuff from last year to give you a little bit extra. So I don't think you should be that nervous, but I mean, look, Arkansas's offense is good enough that you mess around and you fumble one, you get a pass tip to the line, you give them extra possessions, and then that's where it could get kind of dicey. But your point on SEC is, it's really interesting because it's like at this point, most of the stuff that we talk about, I agree. I think Tennessee, I mean, the SEC race, the race for Atlanta is crazy.
Yeah.
It's almost, but also like if I'm one of these teams, I almost wouldn't mind just like having maybe missing out on a tiebreaker and not having to play that game, but being in a strong position to get into the playoff.
Nah, they hadn't won it. They hadn't won an SEC championship since '98. Get in there, baby. Get in there.
That's true. It's probably, and that's the thing. It's probably it depends on the fan base and the program, right? Because like a Georgia, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's cool. Atlanta's an hour away from us, and we go there all the time. But yeah, like it would still be cool for Tennessee fans to finally be able to be back in Atlanta. What, the last time they were there, I think, was that terrible loss to LSU, right? That
07.
team was.
Yep.
Oh no, 07. I was thinking of the 01.
It was also a loss to LSU in 07.
Yes,
but
also yes, but the 01 loss to LSU was the killer. Where
yes.
that was a national championship, good enough team. But
yes, that Matt Mock.
Yes,
good Lord,
who I covered in A-ball, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I covered him in A-ball. He came back out for a brawl after he got kicked off. Put on Carlos Zambrano's jersey. I wrote about it in the paper, and Oscar Acosta, the manager, banned me from the clubhouse for the rest of the year for selling him out, and came very close to punching me in the face for it.
How have I never heard this story? That's amazing.
Oh, I could tell you Oscar Acosta stories covering him all day. Made Izzo sound like
choir boy.
Exactly. Yeah. For some reason, like the Pope. like but yes, Matt Mock, A-ball, Lansing Lugnut. And then all of a sudden, a couple years later, it's like, oh, Matt Mock is quarterback at LSU with Nick Saban. Okay, I didn't know Nick Saban was paying attention. He was a few miles away coaching college football. How about that?
Why do you feel and look, it's not been, some linear thing here, but Tennessee didn't really run the ball all that well against Mississippi State until the overtime, right? Like overtime, you go heavy, you go bigger personnel, and it kind of felt like the Georgia overtime, right? With Georgia just handing it off and immediately getting down to the 4. Like it's kind of exactly what Tennessee did, except Bishop scored on the play. They've had the 3-back approach, which I don't necessarily mind. I do think like you got to be, if you're Heupel, like when you need big moments, like who do you trust the most in the backfield? And early in the year, I think it was definitely Star Thomas. We'll see how that goes as the year plays out here. But are you concerned about Tennessee's running game and how difficult at times it has been for them so far this year?
Yeah, it's a good question. I just feel like in that game, it's almost like sometimes because the Mississippi State does the same thing, they've got some better answers than other teams, against what they do and face every day in practice. So I think that is a really important thing this week. It does seem like, this offensive line, I think the numbers support it. Like it's a better pass protecting offensive line, not as good a run block offensive line.
Yep.
But man, I still feel like with the talent they have at running back, and now they have Sanders fully in the mix and everything, and the way that they're succeeding in the pass game, it doesn't make sense. Like to me, there's a 250-yard rushing game coming against a pretty good team. Maybe it's this week.
Could be. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Vols and the Hogs coming up tomorrow in Neyland Stadium. Plus, we're going to get into it. How wide open is the SEC? Can Tennessee challenge for the SEC this year? How do we feel about where the conference is headed, as it's been a wild season up until this point? We'll get into that coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. This Sunday, the NFL game of the week is the Cowboys taking on the Panthers at noon on Sports Talk 830. NFL game of the week presented by Circa Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up later this hour at 7:45. Let's head to our phone line and welcome in Scott to the program. Scott, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning, guys. Been listening to y'all for a while. This whole Arkansas versus Tennessee. One, I'm a lifelong Arkansas fan. I was born and raised in Little Rock. Now I reside in Tennessee. Arkansas versus Tennessee at Arkansas. It was a doomed game from the start. Last time Tennessee beat Arkansas in Arkansas, I think I was 2 years old. And that was 92 or 93. And the whole thing with Bobby Petrino, it's going to be reflected off of how his record portrays. If he comes in, he does good, Arkansas is not going to care. They're going to forgive him. Arkansas is kind of known for forgiving with the whole Clinton issues. So I'd say, honestly, it's about his performance. I'm not offended by them bringing him back in. And I would honestly say I don't have high hopes for them to beat Tennessee at Tennessee with the way they've been playing and the defense the way that it is right now. But I would love for it to happen so I can just rub it in my boss's face again.
There we go.
So wait. Let me ask you real quick. I don't think it's about being offended. It's just about thinking he's good enough to win. You think Bobby Petrino right now at this point is going to be a big time winning coach at Arkansas?
I honestly, he was one of Arkansas's better coaches for his little stint there that he had in. And he went to have some success outside of Arkansas. So it's one of those that could it be a boost to the offense, actually have an offensive play caller that's been there before and done that and knows what success is? Or is he going to be a washout? There's no really telling at this point since he's kind of been just on the sidelines and just playing at a lesser conference of schools. But, there's high hope there. But we'll see if the next few series of games, if he's still the old Bobby Petrino or he's just going to be back on the sideline and not allowed to have a Harley.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the call. Yeah, Joe, stay off the bike. Keep the neck brace off as well, even though it's an all-time photo.
Yeah, someone shared it on the text line. Yeah, you always have to get that photo circulating. Yeah, look, I suppose. Yeah, I'm not like as embarrassing as it is and all that stuff. When it comes down to it, this is about winning. So I don't expect a school, a professional franchise, a fan base, anything to have some put the moral bar higher than winning or losing. Let's live in the real world here, right?
Yeah. I
just don't think. He had a heck of a stretch. That was a long time ago. And again, he's a good offensive coach, but you're talking about starting a program, and I don't have it in front of me his age, but it's not. This would not be a super long term thing. I don't know. Kind of
64, by the way.
Yeah, it's just. I think maybe his best stretch was there, and he had some good stretch at Louisville. He also had this complete whatever the hell happened with the Atlanta Falcons, a disaster on multiple fronts. There's more than the motorcycle stuff that's like a red flag about Bobby Petrino. But go win in Knoxville, and all of a sudden start doing some crazy stuff here, and you can see how public sentiment could get swept up.
So, Joe, taking this to the SEC as a whole, how wide open is it? Alabama, you looked at the first game and it was like, wow, they just got smoked by Florida State. You got everybody calling for Kalen DeBoer to be fired down there, and they have rebounded nicely since then. Now, they're in the middle of a tough stretch right now. They handled Vanderbilt well. They got a road test in Missouri this weekend, and then they come right back home with Tennessee. So, can Alabama get through all that? We'll see what happens. Georgia's good. But I think we've seen in the Tennessee game and in the Alabama game, certainly in the first half, Georgia's defense has some flaws. It's not the same Kirby Smart defense to this point that we've grown accustomed to seeing. Everybody's preseason darling. It doesn't even look like they're going to be a factor with Texas coming in. And I guess John Mateer is going to give it a go to try to play this weekend against Texas. So, he's a Heisman candidate if he's healthy. Oklahoma's got a legit defense. Texas A&M already with some big wins this year. So there's like, it feels to me, Joe, that there are legitimately, like, I don't know, 8 teams that feel like they're in the mix here to maybe end up in Atlanta, like legitimately, maybe 9. Like it's pretty. It feels wide open right now in the SEC. How do you view it?
Yeah, it's crazy. You have 9 teams right now, this including Vanderbilt. That would probably be your 9th team, ranked between 4 and 20.
Yeah.
From 4 Ole Miss to 20 Vanderbilt. That's wild. Between 4 and 20, so that's 17 spots, right? I think that's right. SEC has 9. Yeah, how about that? I think I'm right. Not 9 of them. And yeah, and you got great game. I mean, this week, huge game. Alabama at Missouri is a huge game, and I'm really intrigued by Missouri. We still got to see. I mean, they're 5-0, and we're gonna. There are much bigger tests starting Saturday coming for Missouri. But Bo Pribula looks awfully good at quarterback. They again got in the portal and got a running back that no one had any idea and all of a sudden he's just unbelievable for them. And so they're one of the pleasant surprises. Ole Miss to me is a pleasant surprise, especially when you lose your starting quarterback. And look what they're doing. Their defense looks legit. I mean, the disappointments are LSU and Texas, as you said. And I think maybe a little bit Georgia. Georgia's a little bit of a disappointment too. But like Tennessee's better than I thought. Vanderbilt better than I thought. Oklahoma probably better, like with Mateer, right? Like there were high hopes, but that's still better than I thought. And Texas A&M, I think, might be the best team. Like I think Elko's a really good coach, and they have a legit defense. And that win at Notre Dame was big time. I don't care. We'll see what happens here with Notre Dame and all this stuff. I mean, they obviously have to win out. And if they do, I think they're probably in. But, like, that's a big time. That's a good team. And that's a big time win on their home field. If everybody thinks Miami's legit, which I do, let's remember what Notre Dame did. They all very nearly won that game. So Texas A&M win that game on the road. I know they've had some ups and downs offensively, but Marcel Reed is a special talent, as anybody from around here knows.
Yep.
And so I might look at them. They might end up being the best, but like the possible combinations in Atlanta and the huge number of all of these teams that have legitimate playoff hopes is pretty wild here on October 10th.
Oh, and strictly from the SEC point, Alabama dropped the opener against Florida State, not a conference game. So, like, from that standpoint, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, they're going to have their opportunity here in the SEC to handle their business. I think we're going to find out a lot about Missouri this weekend. How legit are they? I mean, you got a home game against Alabama. Look, Alabama's not going to be overlooking Missouri just because Tennessee's next week, and they're, it's the 3rd Saturday in October and all that. So you're still talking about a ranked team on the road that you're going to play. But I am really interested with how good Alabama has looked the last couple of times out against Georgia and then against Vanderbilt. And in particular, how good Ty Simpson has looked. Big test for Missouri coming up this weekend to see if they're real. And then, like, Alabama, can you handle your business there? And, like, is your offense figured it out to the point where, with Bernard out there and Ryan Williams and Simpson playing the way they are, it just feels like an offense that's going to be really tough to handle the rest of the year. Like, defensively, Alabama looks a lot better. Like, they looked lost on defense against Florida State. Like, they had no answer for Malzahn, had no answer for anything going on out there. And it feels like they've stabilized there a little bit. Like, it's not the Alabama defenses from 09 or 12 or anything like that. I don't know if those are ever walking through the door again, but it's not an absolute just sieve out there like they look like they were against Florida State.
Right. No, for sure. I mean, look, Vanderbilt was a tough test for them. And when it came down to it, they played a lot of physical football. They had some mistakes for sure. And they gave up, the one long run and another really good touchdown drive, but really dominated the second half. Didn't let much go there. And they had some injuries too. So I think they are absolutely rounding into form. I mean, next, so I think they're dangerous. I think Ty Simpson he's turning into a little bit of a special player. And those receivers, I mean, Williams and Bernard, man, that's
pretty good.
That's a pretty good combo. I don't know that there's a better tandem in college football. People don't realize how good Bernard is. mean, there's so many huge games. Yeah, again, like Alabama, Missouri this week. Of course, Texas, Oklahoma. I mean, next week you got LSU coming to Nashville, and like that to me is like, I mean, one of them is basically going to be relegated to, it's just not happening for you this year, I would say, but it might be Brian Kelly.
Well, and think about like there's some big games this weekend, obviously, but think about next week. You got Tennessee, Alabama, you got Vanderbilt, LSU, you have Ole Miss going on the road at Georgia. Like there are some massive games coming up next week in the conference. Like it's a huge weekend next weekend for the SEC. We're going to find out a lot over the next couple weeks.
It's going to be carnage is what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get into a situation where, because the SEC did, other than you mentioned the loss to Florida State, that was a tough one. But overall, the SEC performed extremely well against the other conferences. On top of all that we're seeing right now and all the good. So, like, you are going to see multiple, again, SEC teams to me that have 3 losses that probably have a case. And they're going to be compared to like 1-loss teams that played way less stringent schedules. And it's going to be really interesting this year to see if all the talk and all the emphasis on schedule strength matters more.
615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Got a big story in sports that I want to get Joe's thoughts on coming up next. We will do that. Plus, we will get back into the Preds season opening win last night against the Columbus Blue Jackets. The Rex Rant coming up at 7:45. Turron Davenport at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game.
on Brugler. He actually has him fourth. He has him as a first, second round grade and number 30 overall. I mean, I think that's got to be largely about the injury. You're talking about a microdiscectomy.
Ugh.
By the way, I didn't even realize this. He also has had a torn ACL in the past and sciatica symptoms from lifting weights that required a different surgery. So 2 surgeries plus an ACL.
What was that last word?
Sciatica. Sciatica, and I may be totally butchering that, symptoms from lifting weights.
You probably
Sciatica?
are.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's sciatica. Oh my God, I'm an idiot. Oh my gosh. I should have to sit in the corner for the rest of the show. Sciatica. What a moron I am. I had no idea that's how you spell sciatica.
There we go.
One of the best moments in the history of the program.
That was an extended cut of the conversation there.
I know. I enjoy it. I think it's the best thing ever. And now, sciatica, sciatica, however you want to say it, rearing its ugly head again in the world of sports. Joe, we've been tagged in this a lot, so I figured we might as well address it. LeBron James missing the season opener for the Lakers and will be reevaluated in 3 to 4 weeks because he is dealing with sciatica on his right side. This is his 23rd NBA season. He's an old man now at this point, and sciatica affecting LeBron James heading into training camp into the regular season for the LA Lakers. So 3 to 4 weeks from now, we'll have to evaluate King James once again for sciatica. Joe, your thoughts?
Well, I just wonder if it's more the skia or the tika. You know, it's either one can be a little bit worse than the other. So haven't heard anything on that front. Yeah, appreciate the people making sure that we saw that. I guess that's very, very kind of you to make sure. I kind of feel like LeBron is owed this some kind of an injury after like his the decision too, but it was like a Hennessy ad or something.
He made a lot of people mad with that one. Man, boy, did he make some people mad.
So like, and I don't like, so when this initially ran, it like they were actually trying to sell like this is actually like some sort of career choice thing from LeBron.
I think so. Yeah,
that's pretty bad, man.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad. So I don't wish sciatica on anybody, but I mean, come on, man. Come on. But I hope he gets better. And also, if we're doing news Thursday, rest in peace, Sister Jean.
Yes.
Sister Jean has passed away, 106 years old. Pretty incredible. Worked all the way, like, until, like, a few weeks ago. So, pretty amazing.
Yep, no doubt about that. Joe, we began the show by discussing the Predators' win against the Columbus Blue Jackets. They win 2-1 last night. 37 saves for UC Saros, so that was good to see in the game last night. He looked awesome in the game. So, obviously, I mean, look, we've had a long-standing conversation about UC Saros, and we're it's a season-long thing. We're going to see how the season goes, but a good start for Saros last night. And, you're missing some guys in the lineup. Nick Hague, one of their big trades they made in the offseason, did not play last night. He's beginning the season on injured reserve. But you did have Brady Martin making his NHL debut, playing on a line with Forsberg and O'Reilly. I thought Martin looked okay. I thought, there were some moments where, you're going up against Sean Monahan and Kirill Marchenko and their line, and that's a pretty good line that they're going up against. So he got overwhelmed a few times out there. But all in all, 18-year-old, he didn't look lost. He didn't look out of place out there. So all in all, I think you're happy with that if you're the Predators. And I'm interested to see how it goes from here. Like, are they going to give him 9 games? Are they going to give him a few more games? Does he have a chance to actually stick around and hang with the team all year as an 18-year-old? That's going to be one of the big early season storylines because, they do have some roster spots they're going to have to figure out, right? Like Luke Evangelista at some point is going to get the immigration part of this done, and he'll be back in the lineup. Matt Wood was out there yesterday at the morning skate participating. So, like, he's not that far away from playing and being ready to go. So, they're going to have some decisions coming up as to what to do with their lineup. But, look, Joe, bottom line is, regardless of how it looks, and it wasn't perfect, it wasn't always pretty, they played well in the third period, But, when you're coming off a season last year that was basically doomed from the start with how bad you started at 0-5, and you just felt like you were in total panic mode the whole time, starting off on the right foot with a win, pretty good, pretty big deal for the Predators, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's huge to not immediately be in a hole, and I understand it'd be a 1-game hole or a 1-game leg up. It's one freaking game of 82, but I think it's big, and I think it's a big opportunity for them to try to like actually get rolling right away and have a good record and be one of the early, pleasant talking points around the league, as opposed to just make everything the opposite of last year. Expectations were huge. I mean, someone was texting earlier, like, why are the expectations down? Same guys, huge expectations a year ago. Yeah. Then we watched them play all year and we were like, oh, no, we were totally dead wrong about this. So a total 180 in expectations from talking about how deep can they go in the playoffs to no one thinks they have a shot to get to the playoffs. And the total 180 of that should be some kind of an edge for the group, along with just a lot of prideful guys who have played a lot of high-level hockey in this league who were miserable last year and want a completely different experience. So that's you got to win the first one to kind of get that ball rolling. And I think it's, even though maybe it wasn't some revelation of a performance or whatever, Saros was really good. O'Reilly had a sweet goal in the power play.
Yep.
Like you said, you got the young guy out there, and he hung in there okay. And it seems like, the defense core is better, right? I mean, that's the expectation, and maybe we're instantly seeing evidence of that too.
Well, here's another thing that we didn't talk about to begin the show that's going to be, just extremely important for them this year. Yossi playing for the first time since February the 25th. He has the POTS diagnosis in the offseason. And, I thought, kind of like everybody else, he was easing into the game and, got overwhelmed a couple of times out there. And in the third period, I was watching and I'm like, man, that looks like Roman Yossi out there. And, he's 35 years old. He's dealing with a POTS diagnosis. Played a lot of hockey in his career. But third period, he looked pretty darn good, man. And that was good to see. Now, can he keep that up throughout the year? What's the schedule? And it's an Olympic year, so it's a very condensed schedule, right? Like, you're basically in the month of February, you're taking three weeks off from the NHL schedule. So they're going to be playing a lot of back-to-backs, a lot of every other days. Like, how do you handle that if you're Yossi and the Predators? But third period last night, he looked pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge deal. And again, that's one of those, it's one of 82, but that one is certainly, it's like, it's going to be lingering and looming. I guess maybe you get a couple months in the season and there's nothing that happens and he's playing well, you forget about it. But I mean, it's going to be a storyline all year, right? And the idea of like a full and healthy season for Roman Yossi, excuse me. But at this point, that would be a huge development. And then what would that mean for the Preds?
Yeah, and does he have one more, like, again, beyond the POTS diagnosis? He's 35, right? So that's when you start to see it go the other way a little bit. Does he have one more year left in him of maybe not Norris Trophy level play, but, elite defenseman level play? Because to me, like, if he does, that's a big deal. That's a big deal for this team if he's got that. There's a long list of things that they need to happen this year if they're going to get back in the playoffs in the Western Conference. That is just going to be absolutely freaking loaded this year. But that would be near the top. Like, if they get, one of those seasons out of him, that'd go a long way.
Yeah, and with the other improvements, that's certainly, we talked extensively, repeatedly, over and over again about Saros and the deal and all that stuff last year. And like, there's not like he didn't have a good year, but that part of it is certainly like, it's still hard to quantify when you are questionable in front of a goalie like that and you have the issues they had. Like, even what does that, speaking of like psychology, what does that do psychologically to a goalie? If he feels like like things are shored up and they're going to be more solid and, probably play more of like I don't know. You tell me, is this team going to have to be a little bit more like a Barry Trotz kind of team, to win hockey games? I don't know, but to be more sound and solid, in the D zone, could be a potentially big deal for him.
By the way, if you're a hockey fan, go check out how the San Jose Sharks lost a game last night. It's one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Jack Eichel had a dump in from center ice that Alex Nedeljkovic, the Sharks goalie, let sneak in by him from the dump in to tie the game up with like a minute left after they had just missed an empty netter the other way. And then in overtime, Nedeljkovic tries to go play the puck as the goalie at the opposing blue line in there, misses on the pass, and Vegas gets the wide open tap in for the empty net. An all-timer last night for the San Jose Sharks. So if you missed it, go check it out. You'll want to see it. We'll have the Rex Rant.
And they know how to lose.
Yes, they do. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up next. TD coming up at 8 o'clock. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
A lot of people are asking about the gout.
If you're hanging out with a bunch of guys with gout, Joe needs to tie into your group.
I don't remember a lot about exactly what happened, but I remember coming around the curve.
And I do think this offensive line is built to pound.
Borderline erotic.
Let's monitor my tone.
That's how I was just going out on a Sunday night after dinner, short ride.
We had a love fest. We all kind of gathered around. We hugged each other.
It's Friday.
It's that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant, brought to you by Functional Medicine of Tennessee. Rise up to better health. Check them out at functionalmedicineoftennessee.net. Mr. Rexrode, the floor is yours.
Well, I'm glad you got Karski in there. I've got the nerve. The butterflies are already building for me. Tigers, Mariners, Game 5. Tarek Skubal on the mound tonight. It's the main event. Remind me, when do the Yankees play again? Because Kaharski, are you listening? When do the Yankees play again? I missed that on my TV listings.
April Fool's Day.
They must play tomorrow. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. Let's do it. Well, Karski, you settle in tonight and watch a team that's still in the playoffs. As I again talk trash about the Tigers that I totally gave up on the other day when they were down 3-0 and was completely shocked to see them come back and force a Game 5. But today, I think I need to get into the we've had some people text about this for a while. The Super Bowl halftime show controversy. Bad Bunny is the choice, which has made people very, very angry. But I gotta say, man, and look, I'm not a Bad Bunny fan. I know that Bad Bunny is a very popular, he's got hot Billboard Hot 100 #1 hits and stuff like that. It's not my cup of tea. People are really upset about it. I'm not going to get into all the political garbage that goes along with everything that happens in the world. But, I understand this would be 2 years in a row. Like last year, Kendrick Lamar is amazing, but I don't know that Kendrick Lamar is a great halftime show choice. So I go back to like The Weeknd. I mean, I'm not a big Weeknd fan either, but actually I thought that was kind of a good show. And it was one of those things that was like, oh yeah, I know that song. Oh, I know that song. It was kind of like a weird show with the maze and everything. But that was like, it's the kids, right? The kids, I think, like this stuff. But I still think that the better choice is to do things that are more accessible to, especially if you can do it generationally, like the Dre, Snoop, Eminem. I mean, Mary J. Blige, like that one. I think that was pretty sweet. Now, granted, I'm of a certain age, but I thought that was pretty sweet. So I don't know if Bad Bunny, is a great choice, but he's obviously very popular. And it's, Usher was 2 years ago, Rihanna. They've had a lot of these solo artists. I mean, my God, like, where was the outrage when Maroon 5 got the freaking Super Bowl? Maroon 5.
Yeah, Blink-182 got robbed that year.
Yeah, I mean, I actually would go for Blink-182. They, first of all, for people who don't know the history, I mean, they really didn't even start doing, it was still like marching bands like through the 80s, basically. Then there was like Chubby Checker came in. I think like one of the first ones where it was like was when they had freaking New Kids on the Block in 91, okay? And Cot B was like kind of ushered in. And then you have some of these, Gloria Estefan, you've got like Patti LaBelle, Teddy Pendergrass, Tony Bennett, Arturo Sandoval, and Miami Sound Machine all together. Like some of these ridiculous halftime shows where you have like, again, Boyz II Men, Smokey Robinson, Martha Reeves, Temptations, Queen Latifah. At least that's like thematically the same thing, but you've had like Aerosmith. It was like Aerosmith and NSYNC together. What?
Sick.
Aerosmith and NSYNC. The best ones are like, again, it depends on what kind of music you want, but like U2, that was awesome. Paul McCartney, The Stones, Prince, Tom Petty, Springsteen, The Who, like that run to me, and even like a Madonna and a Beyonce, like that makes sense. I don't know if Bad Bunny quite measures up to that, but we have a news story, and I know it's Mike Florio, who is, and apparently, Mike Johnson suggested this, but like Lee Greenwood is the There's a strong push from Lee Greenwood to replace Bad Bunny. Like, I'm sorry, but like, hey, just like anybody else in the mid '80s, and I'm proud to be an American. That's a
Great
fine song. 40 some years ago. Does anybody know another song? Like, is he going to play that song 6 times in a row? Lee Greenwood. And let's do it one more time, everybody. I mean, what are we talking about here? Yeah, Bad Bunny, man, I obviously we're talking super high commercials. I've seen him on Saturday Night Live. You know, it was whatever. It's just not my cup of tea. I think the outrage might be a little out of hand. And no, we do not need Lee freaking Greenwood to replace him.
I got a suggestion for you, and I guess this could only, I guess, really happen if the Colts are the team in the Super Bowl. Let's get our guy in there. Let's get Seth, who sings the Colts song, in there every week, and let him do the halftime show. I'd watch.
I would watch. I mean, I would watch. There is no doubt. By the way, Kendrick Lamar was apparently the most watched halftime show of all time. I mean, I don't know if that means anything.
Doesn't that happen every year, though?
Yeah, you know. People were upset about it. Like Kendrick Lamar is basically like, to me, it'd be like the Rock equivalent. You know, Radiohead might be my favorite band of all time. I love Radiohead. But like, I wouldn't necessarily like think of Radiohead for a Super Bowl halftime show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta be accessible to the masses. So maybe.
Let's get the Dave Matthews Band out there.
I'm free. Oh, well, I mean, they've totally screwed that up. That could have been, I mean, they can play one song. They just play one version of Two Step, and it'll like be the longest halftime show of all time.
It's like, wow,
I'm here for it.
We'll resume the game tomorrow. Thank you.
It's a huge miss by them, actually.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Turron Davenport will be with us coming up next. We'll get his thoughts on the matchup between the Titans and the Raiders. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 3, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. The Titans taking on the Raiders, looking for 2 wins in a row. I know, crazy. 2 wins in a row. And to help us talk more about that, we head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our man, Turron Davenport, ESPN NFL Nation Titans reporter, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. TD, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Awesome, man. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. So, TD, I mean, you look at the schedule, and it feels like, opportunities for Titans wins, they don't get a whole lot better than going on the road to take on the Raiders. So, as you look at this matchup, particularly with the uncertainty surrounding Brock Bowers right now, how do you view the Titans' chances of getting 2 wins in a row, which feels like it's been an eternity since that's happened?
Yeah, it's been 3 years, so I was guess they're due. But I think you mentioned it, the Brock Bowers situation. That's really going to have a lot of impact. If he's not able to go, then they really, really got to make sure that they do everything they can to make the Raiders make them one-handed, right? Take away the run game. They do like to find ways to get Ashton Jeanty easy touches, but in the passing game. But if you could make that run game go away and put the ball in Geno Smith's hands, he's not having a good moment right now. So I think that's the key to winning.
So on the injury front on the other side, TD, JC Latham, obviously they've been careful with him. It sounded like potentially he could have played last week, but you want to try to be sure. But can you be sure with an injury like this? I mean, how much concern is there just that then when he's really going to start now playing real football and smashing into guys, that this might flare up again? It might just be like a season-long story. Or do you feel like, like there's confidence that maybe he's actually past it and he can really get going on this second season?
Yeah, I think there's some concern, but the concern has kind of dwindled as they've allowed time to go on. But for me, when I look at this, you're going against Max Crosby, right? You're a right tackle. It's your right hip, your outside hip that's hurting. And that's the one, like when you get that true kick step, like that's the one that's landing as you kick, you're kicking back off your left and you're landing on your right and then you're resetting. And that's going to be a pretty jolting type of, experience for his right hip that is injured. So, we'll see how it goes. But I think, looking at Crosby, is a guy that brings it on every snap. So there aren't going to be any snaps off, so to speak. And it's something where he told me that there's a pain threshold that he has to, be able to withstand. But like you said, everybody is going through that right now. So I think he does play this weekend.
So, TD, you mentioned the Raiders trying to get Ashton Jeanty involved in the passing game. The numbers would suggest that the Titans aren't using running backs in the passing game hardly at all. Right now, I think they're the lowest targeted running back group in the league to this point. Do you expect that to significantly change with Tyjae Spears working his way back into the fold?
Yeah, I do. And Randy Jordan, he talked yesterday about just how he's, just an open space eater and his explosiveness and in the screen game. And I mean, you go back, you look at the Jaguars game. Remember, he caught that screen, man. He scooted down into the low red zone. Yeah, he almost scored. You know what I mean? So it's pretty clear, when you get him in the game, there's an explosiveness that's added. Of course, last week, you didn't really see it to the fullest. I mean, the man was back for the first time in a while. And he still doesn't, well, at least last week didn't fully look like himself, running through individual period. But it's a matter of time. He'll be fine, and I think he will help it.
So, TD, what does the fourth quarter in your mind do for Cam Ward? Obviously, he was not having a good game. He had a 193-yard fourth quarter, some unbelievable throws. Sometimes stuff like that happens. I mean, so many crazy things happen as part of that too to even make it possible. But do you look at that as, okay, that's a clear step forward? He should be able to build on that, or more that it's, basically an anomaly? And how important is this week, I guess, to demonstrate one way or the other?
Yeah, it's a clear step forward. Brian Callahan acknowledged that. And I think really the thing is it showed, okay, he could do it. And this is something now where you have a stretch of 13 plays where you could say, hey, look, these are examples of when you do it right. Whereas before it was like, okay, one play here, another there, so on and so forth. I think that's the big thing. And also that it came in the fourth quarter. And Brian Callahan, as you said, you want your quarterback to be at his best when his best is required. And he said that, you know, it was a great step, but the next step is to do that from the first quarter through the fourth quarter. And I think that's the magic that Brian Callahan has to figure out how to work. And not just Callahan, Cam Ward himself, you know. And I think when you look at the throws, he was on time with those three big throws, man. You look at the 47-yarder to Calvin Ridley, and it was the read was beautiful. And I almost, and Jake and I were talking about this yesterday, I almost think that was a clear out route because you had Calvin Ridley running the seam, and then Tyler Lockett was running the dig route, right? And the dig was just coming underneath the seam. But for whatever reason, the safety jumped the dig, and you know, that's one of those things where it's like, you want the ball to come out fast, so you tell him, look, man, read the safety. He drifts back, you hit the dig, he jumps the dig, you go over his head, one or the other, and it's a quick, easy read, and that's what happened.
So, TD, what has Cedric Gray shown you these last couple of weeks here in terms of the player that he's developing into and where he could ultimately land here?
Man, that guy right there, he has what I call a GPS for the football, man. He's going to find it, you know, and I think what he's showing is the fact that the game is slowing down for him mentally, and things are happening faster for him on the fly. And it kind of sounds like an oxymoron when it's slowing down and happening faster. But what I mean by that is he's able to see everything and diagnose it. And then when he diagnoses it, he triggers it and he goes and gets it. And fortunately, he's, you know, not guessing, but he's been shooting the right gaps, right, and doing the right thing. But there's going to be time where they try to misdirect him. You know, that's what they do against these linebackers like him that are so good at finding the football and triggering, et cetera. So, yeah, he's been balling, man. Got the dirty player, dirty man, or whatever it is, dirty player of the week award, and he had the black jersey on. He was excited about that. Jeffrey Simmons, you know, was excited for him and said they need to get 11 of those. So we'll see what happens.
You know, you think about him and you think about last year, how much of a non-factor was. Obviously, he was hurt, but even last year was kind of like, man, but that's where he got picked, and you're not seeing anything. I'm looking at Oladejo right now and TD, and I'm just, I'm not seeing much at all. Like it was a project when he was drafted. We already talked about that. But I guess I still would hope that a project would still start to do some things on the field as a rookie, as a second-round pick. I mean, it's just in this league, second-round picks usually start, and if they're good picks, they make a difference. What are you seeing from him, from Oladejo, and what's fair for him here the rest of this season in terms of expectations?
Yeah, his reps have gone up and down, but I mean, yeah, he may not be doing much as far as sacking the quarterback, but he's gotten some pressures. I saw one play where he jacked the tight end up into the running back and got a tackle that way. He sets the edge aggressively. He's doing what they're asking him to do. Now, obviously, you would want to get more QB takedowns, and I think that's where he has to improve and get better. And it's with time. He's working with Ben Bloom, with Lori Locust, on different techniques and how to, develop moves and things like that. I don't know what to say as far as if there was a number to expect from him, but I think at some point he has to be a more impactful rusher, just affecting the quarterback. You know what I mean? And like I said, there were some times where, he made the quarterback step up and someone else got the tackle, the sack. But for the most part, he's good against the run, but you don't need that with a second-round pick. You need more. So I will agree that they need more from him, and I would say just give it time and allow him to continue to develop.
So, TD, Geno Smith has already thrown 9 picks this year in 5 games. And I know, not all of them are his fault, but if you're the Titans defense and you're seeing that, like, how do you balance the temptation to be like super aggressive, looking to force the interception, while also making sure you're not getting absolutely torched the other way trying to jump routes?
Well, I think it's just that. Don't force anything. And that's what it like with this game, when you force things, that's when bad things happen. You know what I mean? And I think you make the plays that come to you. Don't jump too aggressively any routes or anything like that, because that's how you get knocked on the double moves. But I think there's going to be chances. They got to try to confuse them, pre and post snap looks, those types of things.
You think we'll see more of Kevin Winston on defense and packages moving forward here, TD?
I would imagine it's hard to tell. I think he's a guy that's eventually going to be their matchup guy against tight ends. But I know they were really happy what he did special teams wise. Talking to him, in the locker room on Wednesday, he wouldn't say whether he will get more or not. He's definitely hoping, but he just said it's up to the coaches. And I haven't really gotten anything as far as whether or not it'll get ramped up. They're going to get him involved at some point, but it's a process.
TD, I'd just like to point out this week, Titans won a game with you in the building. Preds won a game with you in the building. You're Nashville's good luck charm. Keep it up, buddy.
Hey, man, listen, I do what I can to help out, man.
Soccer team's going to be looking for you, man.
That's right. You better watch out.
Who's going to be looking for me?
Soccer team. They're going to get your services. You're going to be recruited out there.
Hey, I'm a man of the people. No sport is immune from me. So,
TD, enjoy yourself in Vegas this weekend. Appreciate you taking time to be with us, and we'll talk to you next week, my man.
All right, for sure. Appreciate you guys.
Turron Davenport joins us every Friday morning at 8 o'clock, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. Interesting stuff there from TD in the matchup against the Raiders. We'll kind of drill down on that with Rexrode. Coming up next, we got Pigskin Pick'em coming up at 8:30. All of that is ahead. Speaking of the Titans and the Raiders, you can hang with Titans fans, including the crew from 102.5 The Game. I've seen some pictures, and Jason Big Joe already out there having a big time at Overhang Bar at Circa. Drink specials are included, plus giveaways, including 2 tickets to the Titans-Raiders game. Go to circalasvegas.com for more information. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circa Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football games. Monday night matchups are the Bills taking on the Falcons and the Bears and the Commanders. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. We'll have Pigskin Pick'em coming up at 8:30, and we will get into the Titans, the Vols, and a busy weekend of football coming up. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment. Joe, as TD said, it's been 3 years since the Titans won back-to-back games, man. There's an opportunity this weekend for that to happen. And the Raiders have played very poorly so far this year. I mentioned Geno Smith. Geno Smith, through 5 games, has already thrown 9 interceptions. That is an incredible amount of interceptions in 9 games here. So, again, if you go back and look at them, not all of them are his fault. The offensive line has not played great in front of Geno Smith. They've had some problems all across the board with the Raiders, which is why they're 1-4, and Titans fans are familiar with that. But an opportunity here for Cam Ward, the offense, and this team as a whole to show some meaningful progress, right? To build on what you saw in the fourth quarter. And again, like Cam Ward's not going to throw for 190 yards every quarter. I understand that. But can you avoid just long stretches in the game where nothing is going on offensively, which has been the case the last 2 weeks against the Texans and against the Cardinals? It's been the case at different points all year, right? Like, this needs to be Cam Ward and the offense's best game that we've seen to this point coming up this weekend. And if it's not, I will be very disappointed by that.
Yeah, he needs to build on that. Like, I agree with what TD said. Clear step forward. That was winning a game with some massive throws and massive production in the fourth quarter, regardless of the situation, has to be considered a step forward. And look, frankly, the way he had been performing, like it wouldn't even have taken that much to do something that would be considered a step forward, right? So, but I think it was a real one. And so, can you build on it? And is there any carryover? Is there any such thing as momentum when it comes to that? I think there is definitely momentum when it comes to confidence for a young quarterback. But you got to be able to give him a chance. And listening to TD talk about how you think about like the specifics of the right hip, the pass set, Max Crosby bearing down on you. That to me is where, the Titans just can't let that guy is good enough to wreck games. Like, game wrecker is used too frequently. It's applied to too many people. But guys like Crosby and Myles Garrett, like those guys actually like destroy offenses at times in given weeks, and just like make them so discombobulated because they have to deal with them that it screws everything up. So can't let him wreck the game. And obviously you have to think about what kind of help. Look, it'd be great. J.C. Latham, a guy that goes 7th in the draft, that's a guy you want to be able to say, you know what, he can hold his own over there. He's going to get beat sometimes, but for the most part, we don't have to help him every single snap.
Right.
Given the hip, I'm guessing that the help is going to be shifted that way a lot, which of course leaves the man door with no ornaments on it.
Well, very nicely done.
Thank you.
Well, and then the other part of this that we've not talked about today, Ridley, right? Ridley looked pretty good last week. What's he look like this week? Like, is Ridley about to round into a form where he is a consistent performer week to week? And it doesn't have to be 130 yards every week, but is he a guy that is productive for the Titans on a week-in, week-out basis? This offense, to me, as currently constructed, can't really survive if he's not. Like, if he's not a guy that's making plays for them every week, it's going to be tough for them to move the ball, tough for them to score points. Good Lord, it's tough for them to move the ball and score points when he is. So, like, they need him to be – they need last week to be basically his light bulb moment of the year where it comes on and he plays pretty well from here on out.
Yes. And, of course, he's still dependent on the rookie QB, so, like, there's still – if you're him, there's still some dependence on the offense to function and the quarterback to get you the ball. I can't help but think of A.J. Brown, who looked very sad last night as the Eagles got blown out by the Giants. But you look at like them. A.J. Brown's a great player, but there are weeks when his production would not suggest that. So like Ridley's got to have his quarterback's got to give him the ball. but he had so many drops early. And as we know, there's just been some things that have been out of whack with him at times. So if that's the start of something, then maybe you got something. I think throwing to Gunnar Helm more is a good idea. It just seems like whenever that guy gets a chance to make a play, he makes a play. You give him more chances.
We did have a texter earlier talking about A.J. Brown and how unhappy he looks in Philadelphia right now, and playing out like the doomsday scenario for Amy Adams-Strunk is that Philadelphia just sours on him and trades him to New England by this time next week. And he comes in with Vrabel and just beats the Titans' butt. Like, Amy might sell the team at that point.
Oh, my gosh. Vrabel and AJ. Well, shoot, one of the stars last night for the Giants. What about, is there any way, like, I don't even know who Vrabel, who is, oh, yeah, it's Big T, right? It's Vrabel's DC, right? Who obviously is going through health. I was going to say, like, can Vrabel, like, lift Shane Bowen off that Giant staff, bring him with him too? Like, who else can come in here?
I tell you one person he doesn't want, and that is Adoree Jackson.
Oh,
good
geez.
grief. He's awful.
That non-tackle attempt at the goal line, like, Kirk Herbstreit, he doesn't, he's pretty careful about, he's not really critical. I think he does a good job, but he's gentle. You know what I mean? Like calling out players, criticizing players on broadcast. And he was like, what the hell? Basically,
he's terrible.
Yeah. That's, man. Well, I know and they're trying to keep him off the field, but injuries put him back on the field. So, yeah. And then when you're trying to deal with the great Cam Scadaboo, all of you who ripped me during draft time owe me an apology. Some of you have given the apologies, but I'm keeping notes on all of you who aren't. So keep them coming today, folks. You're trying to get away with that, dude, you might be in trouble. My goodness, what a beast.
So we'll see if the Eagles can hold off the temptation to trade A.J. Brown to the Patriots between now and next week.
God, I hadn't even thought. That's an amazing thought.
It's like, oh, my God, it's Vrabel and A.J. Brown coming into Nissan Stadium.
And I'll sit, like, if they got A.J. Brown and, like, Diggs actually looks pretty good this year, how good would they be? Jeez.
Pretty darn good, man.
That's kind of terrifying.
Vrabel will be making the playoffs in his first year, which I'm sure would go over well around here. We got Pigskin Pick'em coming up next. We got the Vols in action against the Hogs this weekend. Titans going for win number 2 in a row against the Raiders, and a whole lot more football. We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It is that time of the week, time for Pigskin Pick'em here on the program. First, a standings update in the competition. Robby Stanley, myself, Joe Rexrode, both 3-3 with no lock last week. Ian Safar, 2-4, also did not get his lock. So nobody picked up a lock last week, which brings the overall standings to this. Ian Safar remaining in first place, 20-16 overall, 3-3 on his locks, good for 23 points. Joe Rexrode, 17-19 overall, a 5-1 record on the locks, which is very well done by Rexrode. 22 points, just one behind Ian Safar. I'm like full Costanza at this point. It's amazing. 17-19 overall. The big Ofer, 0-6 on my locks, which is astounding that I've been able to pull that off to this point. 17 points. So some work to do on my front to get back into the competition. We begin with Arkansas and Tennessee. Bobby Petrino, hopefully not on a motorcycle, riding into Neyland Stadium tomorrow. The Hogs will be called, I'm sure, by some people in the stadium. Tennessee, a 12.5-point favorite on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Ian Safar, you are in first place, so we begin with you. Who do you got between the Hogs and the Vols?
Okay. Tennessee coming off the bye week here. I am going to take Tennessee minus 12.5. Yeah, I think they'll get it done. 2 touchdowns, I think, is doable.
Joe Rexrode, Tennessee, 12.5 points on the FanDuel Sportsbook.
As Ian said, Tennessee coming off an idle or off week, which are the two acceptable terms for what they just came off of. I'm close to locking this one, but I'm gonna hold off just because I think Petrino will probably have some stuff, and who knows, maybe he's gonna show the team like an Evel Knievel movie tonight or something to get them all jacked up. So I will go with the Vols. I won't lock them down.
I will. Vols lock.
Yeah.
Lock it down on the Vols. I'm sorry to all my fellow Tennessee fans. I'm sorry to Josh Heupel. Sorry to Joey Aguilar. I'm sorry to a lot of people. But I'm locking down on the Vols, minus the 12.5. Joe, I said it earlier. I haven't been able to shake the feeling all week that they're just going to destroy Arkansas. So we'll see how it goes coming tomorrow at Neyland Stadium. The Tennessee Titans on the road at the Giant Roomba to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. A 4.5-point favorite are the Raiders in this game. Joe Rexrode, your take on the Titans and the Raiders.
Yeah, Titans, incredible win, incredible loss also as part of that win, but they got to win. And Cam Ward did some special stuff in the fourth quarter, and so now they have this great opportunity, and the Raiders aren't good, and they're missing their best offensive player, and I'll go with the Raiders.
That was a long way to get back to the Raiders there. Good stuff. Joe going with the Raiders minus the 4.5. Give me the Tennessee Titans to cover and the Tennessee Titans to win outright.
Oh,
Monday morning, we're going to be talking about 2 wins in a row for the Tennessee Titans. Now, I'm not going to go crazy with this and get all cocky about it because I did that against the Colts and the Titans got destroyed. So I'm not doing that again. But I will take the Titans to win, and I will definitely take them plus the 4.5. I think the Raiders are terrible. Ian? Raiders favored by 4.5.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm also going to take the Titans to cover the 4.5.
Yeah, baby.
I do think the Raiders are pretty cheeks right now. Brock Bowers still pretty banged up. Snead's playing well and playing, so hopefully that will take away one of the outside guys. Maybe Genty has a great game, but nobody runs on the Titans. Give me the Titans to cover 4.5.
I like it. Titans covering the 4.5. We move to the individual portion of the program. Give me the Alabama Crimson Tide minus 3.5 on the road against Missouri. I think Alabama with another statement win on the road, and it's going to set up, in my opinion, a pretty high-level matchup between Alabama and Tennessee next week. So I'll take Alabama minus 3.5 on the road against Missouri. Ian Safar, your first individual selection.
Okay, I think I'm going to go with an over-under on this one. College, Oregon, Indiana, over 53.5.
53.5. Taking the over in the matchup between Oregon and Indiana. Joe Rexrode, your first individual selection.
I will also hit that game first in a more traditional way. Indiana at Oregon. Oregon is home -7.5. Indiana is really good, and all credit to Signetti and the boys. And, Fernando Mendoza is a good quarterback. Oregon, I think, might be the best team in college football, and they're at home. And I think they're going to win this game by double figures. So give me Oregon -7.5.
Going Oregon -7.5. And you know what? I had that one too. So I'll just go ahead and get my second pick out of the way. Give me Oregon -7.5 against Indiana. Rexrode, your second individual selection.
Okay. Red River rivalry. Now, you got to help me. I want to make sure that I have the line correct, because I know the material and everything. But what I saw last was Texas -1.5. Oklahoma, Texas.
It is now flipped. It is Oklahoma -1.5.
It is flipped now. Okay.
Yes.
So Texas is getting 1.5. That doesn't change my pick. I'm going to go with the Sooners all the way. I think they're going to win this game also by double figures. So give me the Sooners. And you know what? Make it by lock.
Going
Guarantee.
Going Oklahoma -1.5 against Texas in the Red River rivalry, and locking down on it. That would they lose that game. Not going to be good around Texas and Arch Manning. Ian Safari, your second individual selection.
Okay. I got a couple of options here, but I think I'm actually going to go a little bit of the opposite Vrabel special here. Coming off the win, going to New Orleans, the Saints are a little bit better. I'm going to lock down the Saints +3.5 versus the Patriots.
Saints +3.5 against the Patriots. Ian locking down on the New Orleans Saints. I love it. Ian, your third individual selection.
This one I've been also kind of going back and forth on here. There's a few other NFL games that kind of stick out. There's one college game that kind of sticks out. I think I'm going to take Seattle +1.5 at Jacksonville to win that game.
Seahawks +1.5 against Duval and the mighty Jaguars, who are riding high right now. Joe Rexrode, your third individual selection.
Well, let me go right at Ian and flip it around. I got the Patriots rolling over the lowly Saints. Give me the Patriots -3.5 on the road.
Going Patriots -3.5 against the New Orleans Saints down there in Louisiana, and we'll see if Vrabel gets a nice win before coming back to Nissan Stadium next week. Give me the Detroit Lions +2.5 against the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. Lions are going to win, and they're going to drop Kansas City to 2-4. 2-4 will be Kansas City's record. Give me Detroit +2.5. Joe Rexrode, what do you think about that?
No way, man. That is not a 2-4 football team. They beat the Lions by double digits.
Jeez, no respect. No respect for the Lions whatsoever.
They're good. I got respect for the Chiefs, man. They're going to win that division again after all this crap, after all that's gone on, which is amazing.
Rexrode, your final individual selection.
Okay, back to college. Iowa State at Colorado. Colorado getting 2.5 at home. I think Iowa State wins that game by about 7 to 10 points. So give me Iowa State -2.5 on the road.
On Iowa State -2.5 on the road against Colorado. Iowa State continuing to navigate the nation's toughest schedule, and we'll see if they can handle it out there in Colorado.
That's right.
And get a nice victory. Ian Safari, your final individual selection.
Okay, I'm going to stick with this philosophy here. Bills coming off the loss, didn't play very well against the Patriots, are at Atlanta for Monday Night Football. I think I see are Bills -4.5. I think I'm going to take the Bills to beat Atlanta by a touchdown. So I'll take Bills -4.5 versus Atlanta Monday Night Football.
Going Bills on Monday Night Football -4.5 against the Atlanta Falcons. Give me the Bake Show and the Bucks -3 against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, these are like, the type of games that San Francisco wins, and, Mac Jones has been playing good. And they got Brock Purdy and Mac Jones and Kyle Shanahan coaching his butt off so far this year. But I'll tell you what, Emeka Egbuka is like really, really, really good. Like really good. Baker Mayfield is really good. And I've got the Bucks -3. And we're going to start talking about, is Tampa Bay potentially the best team in the NFC? We're going to be talking about it after this week. I'll take Tampa Bay -3 against the 49ers.
Yep, we've had Green Bay, we've had the Lions, we've had the Eagles, and I think the Bucs deserve to be in that discussion. They play at the Lions, I think, Monday Night Football next week, which is good when the Lions come off a tough loss at Kansas City.
I almost took the Colts -7.5 versus Arizona. That was definitely.
I thought about it too.
That's definitely up there. I don't think Kyler Murray has
one.
practiced yet this week. Might be, beef
Call of Duty out?
Maybe. Might be beef brisket in there versus his former team. Clemson, I don't know. What do you think? Clemson -14.5 versus Boston College?
Thought about that one too.
I thought about that. That was on my list.
Who the heck does North Carolina play this week?
I think they're actually. Are they off this week?
I think they must be off. Yeah, they must be off because it would. Yeah,
they are.
Boy, what a real treat that is. That whole situation. I mean, it's getting like the whole tweeting the Drake May stuff. We talked about that, right? My God.
Oh yeah.
Let's not tweet anything about the Patriots. I mean, it's truly embarrassing.
Well, the next time we get to see them, Friday, a week from today, 9:30 kickoff. North Carolina at Cal on the road, baby. Staying up late to watch Bill Belichick play some football out there. If he's still there by that time, which he may not be.
I mean,
Probably not.
I have no idea. Like there's talk. There's talk out there that he's looking for the exit hatch. I don't know, man. What a disaster. By the way, can I do a quick shout out here?
Sure.
Dane from Noldsville pointing out Mill Creek Middle School, the Mill Creek Mavericks state semifinals today in volleyball. Go get them. Go get them, Mavericks.
There we go. Go Mavericks. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Final thoughts on the Titans and the Raiders, the Hogs and the Vols. Coming up next, Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Tomorrow's college football game of the week, South Carolina taking on number 11 LSU. That's 6:45 on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circa Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Joe, the Vols hosting Arkansas tomorrow. Bobby Petrino coming in. All of us taking the Vols in that one. 12.5-point favorite. They're coming off the bye week. Now, Arkansas coming off the bye week, too, with the coaching change. So that's an interesting wrinkle thrown into that one tomorrow. It's a day where Tennessee's offense should, and I remind you, should really be productive. I mean, Arkansas just gave up 56 to Notre Dame. Tennessee's offense has looked pretty good all year long to this point. The passing attack in particular has looked very good. Chris Brazzell looks like one of the best receivers in America so far this year. So can Tennessee's offense keep it up, and can you establish the running game a little bit better tomorrow than you did last time out against Mississippi State? But, Tennessee's scored into the 40s every game so far, Joe. So we'll see if they can keep that going.
Yeah, look, I expect them to continue to roll on offense. You've had this extra time to work, tinker with some stuff. Are we going to start seeing like David's? You don't want to put too much on like a freshman offensive lineman, but is his presence, David Sanders' presence, does that start to mean more as things move forward? 3 really good backs. I think that was more an anomaly. I think you're going to see a balanced offense in the Vols, and I think you're going to see some points from Arkansas too. But I just don't think that they can keep up in this game. I mean, I have the same feeling you do. I don't know if that's good or bad for your Vols, but I think they're going to end up winning this pretty comfortably.
Yeah, it's making me more nervous the more we talk about it. It really is. Really is. We'll see what happens there. But to your point, home game, it's the only home game you have the entire month of October. You're on the road at Alabama, on the road at Kentucky the next 2 times out. So, the next home game after this one will be Oklahoma on November the 1st. So it's a while before they're back at home again. So, typically under Heupel, they've played really well at home. We're going to find out, I think, a lot about Tennessee's defense. Arkansas's got a good offense. Taylon Green's playing pretty well at the quarterback position. And Tennessee's defense, obviously against Mississippi State, they made some huge plays, scoring 2 touchdowns in the game. And they've made some opportunistic plays that way. It has not been the Tennessee defense from a year ago. I don't think that there's any question about that. So, as they get healthier, Hobbs coming back in, you got another, couple weeks since Moy getting fully healthy back in there. As they're getting some more bodies back, how much better do they look? And still without Jermon McCoy, and we're reaching mid-October. So what's that going to end up looking like?
Yeah, and certainly Moy and Hobbs both in there. That should absolutely matter. You do wonder I almost, with McCoy, I feel like, yes, there are definitely people who think he is a first-round corner. I don't know that he can sit a whole year and count on going in the first round.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think the Vols are going to be playing relevant football. Like if they somehow fell off, you could see a scenario where it's like, well, we'll see at the combine. We'll get working out. But considering that they're going to be in some high leverage games here in the next few weeks, you figure you get him back, even if not Gibson, and just McCoy back would be
big deal.
Would be a big deal for sure. Big boost to that. And those guys have played pretty well, but obviously you've seen more mistakes as the season's gone on.
Well, and Colton Hood looks really good. Like Colton Hood looks like a player for them. But like if your 3 corners that are out there consistently when he's back end up being McCoy, Hood, and then Boo Carter, like you feel pretty good about that if you're Tennessee.
Exactly. And the Boo Carter thing. It seems like things have calmed down.
For now.
Nothing from his mom lately, as far as I know. All right, everybody's okay?
I think she said something on Facebook last week. I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
But Vol Twitter went with it.
They just gonna let it go?
No, they went with it. I just can't remember what it was because I'm old.
Well, it just seems like maybe as time goes on, you see there's a little bit more impact from him too. You've already seen some. The guy is is absolutely a talent, but maybe there's a little bit more Boo Carter impact overall on this team if things have chilled a little bit.
Joe, if we show up to the program on Monday morning and we're talking about a second consecutive Titans win, what's that vibe going to be like? What do you think that means for Brian Callahan, Amy Adams-Strunk, Cam Ward, and the like?
I guess it means a false sense of security before Vrabel comes in here and rains hellfire on them. Might actually be the worst case scenario. Everybody's like, hey, this isn't so bad. This might be all right. Come on in, Mike. But no, look, that game, we joke about it, but that Vrabel game is, how important that is to Amy. My goodness. So, like, obviously, any confidence, any momentum, any positivity whatsoever that you can scrounge together going into that game would be a big thing. I mean, look, the Patriots are a big win against Buffalo. Drake May, I think, is a talent. He's up and down. He's erratic, but he's a talent. But like that team's beatable,
Sure.
So I know I'm already moving past this week, but I'm just saying, like, it's not a foregone conclusion what will happen in that game. If the Titans actually do play well, win a second straight game, and it's clear that, okay, they've taken a step, well, then I think you might be looking at an interesting one when the Vrabes does show up.
Well, I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Should be some fun football action this weekend. Hopefully the Titans can get it done and win back-to-back games. I don't even know if we know what to do with ourselves around here if that's the case. We'll have it all covered for you coming up on Monday morning. Hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. The Preds are back at it tomorrow as well at home against the Utah Mammoth. Looking for a 2-0 start. Wouldn't that be something? Could be a weekend full of winning around here. We'll see what happens on that front. Joseph, we'll see you Monday morning.
Sounds good. Have a good weekend, everybody.
Hope everybody has a good weekend. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.